Hello, this is Bruno pelletier-bacquaert. In today's vlog, I'm going to address a question that's being asked every now and then, and particularly lately. That question being, why do you sing when you play? You might have noticed, at least the last couple people who asked that question noticed that during the improvisations when I try to demonstrate something, I happen to sing the lines that I'm playing at the same time. So why am I doing that? Because it's not, I agree, it's not particularly pretty. I don't consider myself a singer. I am not a vocalist. I am not a singer-songwriter. And I'm not a vocal coach either. I mean, it's not something I'm interested in. But it really helps the process of improvising melodies. And first and foremost, I should really clarify something. I am not singing when I'm playing, even though it seems that way, right? What actually happens is the other way around. I play what I'm singing. It's a subtle difference, but it does make all the difference. So the idea is that with my guitar playing, I'm trying to follow that little voice that sings the melody that's being improvised. And it happens at the same time. I mean, even though I'm saying that the voice is leading the way and the fingers are following, it really happens at the exact same time. It's not like I sing something, and then I play it again on the guitar. It's not that, even though we could do that. That's actually an exercise that's really interesting. You could sing something and then play it immediately after as a way to train your ear and establish the connection between what you hear and what you're playing. But that's not exactly what I'm doing. Basically, what I'm discussing here is when I sort of hum, grunt, because I don't, you guys are being nice when you say sing at the same time. I'm not really singing. In other words, I'm not using a full voice. I'm not George Benson, for instance. George Benson is a great vocalist, and he's also a great improviser. And part of his sound is to scat at the same time that he's playing with his guitar. So, we hear this doubling effect. That's not really what I'm doing, obviously. If you've noticed on the video, I sort of moan and grunt and so I utter the sound, and the breath is important because somehow the breathing is going to help you with punctuation, so to speak. So since we are improvising phrases, musical phrases, we need to have some kind of punctuation, silences, breaks, rests. Otherwise it's just this never-ending flow of just notes that just keep pouring out, and then there's just no stop. So I feel that it's a very important part of how I improvise, and I actually have my students do that. That's just part of one of the things I force them to do, is just try to hum as they play, or again, it should be the other way around, like just trust that little voice, that improvised line that comes up through their mind, and then follow that with the guitar, again, in real time. A lot of jazz musicians do that. I mentioned George Benson, and that is part of his sound. There's another guitar player who had a very interesting take on that. He was whistling. I'm talking about Toots Tillemans, who was known essentially as a harmonica player, but he was a great guitarist, and he wrote the song Bluesette. And in fact, if you go on YouTube, you're going to find some footage, a lot of footage of him actually playing, but particularly the older clips when he was playing more guitar than harmonica, and he would whistle his lines. That was his thing. He wasn't singing at the same time, but he would whistle his lines. And we're talking someone who can really, really whistle. Like, only a few people can do that. I'm talking a very strong, incredibly in tune whistling. You know, this guy was amazing, and he would whistle his improvisations. You know, he would just do it like that, but you know, not the wimpy whistle that I just did. No, his whistling was just like cutting through, you know, the whole band, and it was really amazing. So, but a lot of other people do that. Kurt Rosenwinkel, who's a you know, modern player, he sings everything that he plays, and he actually also has a great voice, and he has this falsetto voice, falsetto as we say, you know, meaning that he can sing incredibly high. You know, he can sing the entire range of his instrument. When it starts going up, you know, near the 10th, 12th fret of my guitar, I have to start humming down an octave because I can't reach with my voice up there. But he has no problem with that. So he, you know, his voice is exactly doubling in unison what he's doing on the guitar. Who else does that? Well, a lot of piano players. Well, Keith Jarrett comes to mind, of course. But even though I almost wish I didn't bring him up, because a lot of people hate, for whatever reason, I mean, it's hard to believe, but a lot of people hate Keith Jarrett because of his voice. And, you know, it's just part of his sound. Yes, he has a grating voice. Yes, it is a bit annoying. Yes, it might be a bit louder on some recordings than it probably needed to be. Maybe they could have, you know, aimed one of the microphones in the piano a little further away from his voice. But whatever, it's part of his sound. But more important, it's what allows him to let go. You know, he taps into this voice that he's hearing, and that's what he does when he improvises. Whether he improvises out of nowhere, you know, just like free form, free everything, or if he improvises over a jazz standard, I mean, he just follows his voice and he just goes, and he's an amazing player. But Powell would sing most of what he was playing, maybe not 100%, but we often hear him moan and grunt, you know, behind his piano playing. Paul Bley is someone I've listened to a lot. We often hear his voice, you know, picked up by the microphone. So he's singing. He's just basically what happens, and I strongly encourage you to experiment by yourself. When you start singing at the same time that you're playing, it unleashes certain things. And you know, I was mentioning the breathing, but also there's this element of trust. You know, you need to trust what you're hearing, and chances are it's going to be good. You know, instead of asking yourself, oh, should I be playing this note, or should I be playing that note, or this arpeggio, that arpeggio? Well, truth be told, if you can sing that thing, if it's something that you are hearing while you are improvising, it's good, and that's what you should be doing. You know, so trust your voice. Now, if it's something that you're not doing intuitively, because I don't honestly remember when I started doing that, and it seems like it was always kind of part of my playing, but I can't say exactly at what point I realized, oh, you know what, I seem to be singing all the time. So it's not something that I really did purposely. But as I was saying earlier, I would encourage you to do that, because it really will help your improvisation. So how do you jumpstart the process? Well, first of all, I would say sing everything that you are practicing. So start with melodies. You know, if you play the melody of a song, if you do Autumn Leaves, really sing that. It helps you really hear the melody, you know, in terms of placement of the notes, but of course, you know, what the notes are. But also you're training your fingers to match the sound of your voice in reverse, right? When you work on your scales, Da 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 do 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 ba ba da 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 da. Sing them up and down. When you work on your arpeggios, ba da ba 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 ba. You know, you can play a chord. You know, there's different ear training type exercises that you could do. You could play a chord. Let's say you play a major 7 chord, and then you can start before you even play. You can start singing those notes, and then play them. See if it was the same. But as far as the training goes, while you play root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, root, etc. Ba, way, way, ba, ba, da, da, way, da. Just sing those notes slowly. If it's a minor 7 chord, ba, way, way, boo, ba, way, ba, way, way. So whether it's scales, arpeggios, melodies, get in the habit of humming, grunting, moaning. You know, if you don't want to use your full voice, or if it's late at night, you don't want to wake up everybody in the house. But try as much as possible to establish that connection between what you're doing on your instrument and how you are hearing it and vocalizing it. That's the important thing. And then just when you start improvising, just try to tap into that little voice, because we always hear something. A lot of people think, oh well, I can't hear anything. I'm not hearing anything. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, when you sing, if you're walking around, you're probably always humming something. There's probably always this melody in your head. So that's what I'm talking about. Just like try to follow that, or just try to improvise something. You don't actually need your instrument to improvise something over a chord progression, right? So that's a long answer, but that's basically why you hear my bad singing or grunting when I improvise. But at the same time, even though at times, I'll confess, at times I kind of wish that it weren't there. Like there are certain recording situations when it seems to take over a little bit. It's like it's a bit louder, or I would have preferred it to be a little quieter. But at the same time, okay, that's part of what I did. So don't be ashamed of it. And I can pretty much guarantee that the results are, if you do it honestly, I think you'll find the results really worth the work that you're going to put into that. Okay, so that's it for today. Bye.